Hello, hello. Today we are painting this lovely scene again from Florence with the lanterns in sunlight. I will be using the rule of thirds again for the composition. As usual, I explained a little bit in the previous video when we were painting this scene, but I can explain again. The things we want to look at in our picture are normally located along these lines. If you divide your page into the roughly 9 rectangles, the main thing that you're going to be looking at will be located on either of these lines or on the intersection. So for me, that lantern will be located somewhere roughly on the intersection, and I will just mark it like that for myself, because otherwise while I'm talking to you, I might not be able to watch exactly what I'm doing. Otherwise, what I intended to show you is how I would approach a painting if I painted directly in watercolor. When I do it on location, I simply block out the bigger areas. Let me just mix some color. I'm using some paint that's left from our previous painting. But what I do is I find the biggest blocks of shadow first, so it's easier to start with the darkest area, and I simply block it out in plain color. And I start around the lightest element, which in my case is the lantern. I will be adding some other colors as I go. I use the same colors I usually do. For me today is Aurelian and Cerulean and Quinacridone Rose. I mix all three of them when I want to do a dark color. I'm adding yellow and red to add inside that shadow to indicate the door. And then I go directly with yellow right into this paint. Then it's roughly the same shade. The metal of the lamp is roughly the same shade. It will be a little bit lighter because it's on white paper, so it will naturally be lighter. And then I will add more blue for the shadow. And for this I actually might add black later, but we'll see. And I simply just draw the shape of that shadow of the lamp element. It takes some practice to start seeing shapes instead of lines in what you're looking at, but that's what I'm doing. This method takes a lot of careful looking and thinking what you're doing. That's why it's particularly difficult to do when I talk at the same time. But I consider it my own practice in using left and right side of the brain simultaneously. So that's my challenge for today. Yours is to possibly try to find the shapes, find the simplified shapes in the photo and try to paint them. And there is kind of a mess of things here, and I'm just roughly trying to copy what I see. I add this color or another color from time to time, so there is a variation to my shadow color. This is a good exercise for hand and eye coordination. If you're constantly frustrated that your paintings are not precise, this is exactly the exercise you need for this. To achieve any kind of precision in your painting, in your sketching. You need this exercise to train your hands to eye coordination. It will be frustrating, and you succeeding as an artist, as a sketcher, and you becoming any good at what you're doing, it only relies on you keeping to your practice and you not giving up when things are difficult, because things will be difficult. And I found that people with natural stubbornness, not with natural talent, but with natural stubbornness, those who can grit their teeth and keep practicing, even if it's not turning out the way they want, they keep practicing, keep walking out of the studio or the work table and coming back again and again and again. Those are the people who become better. Okay, and now I'm going to dilute the paint, because any elements that fall further down, they are going to be lighter. I'm using the, what's that called, air perspective. Air perspective to create depth in my painting. The air perspective is the perspective that is making all of your colors lighter and clearer as the picture draws further from you. So any elements that are dark in the photo, they will be lighter than whatever you've done in the foreground here. I'm just adding a little bit darker color in just a few areas closer to the lights and then leaving it alone. We have a window there. And the studs that are holding the pipe. And then I'm going to take a flat brush, although actually no, this one's fine. It's still wet, but when I paint on location, I can't wait for things to dry. And I'm gonna use the same puddle in my palette of the same color to go around this ironwork, making sure that I'm leaving highlights on the front. For example, here they're going to be a light patch, and here, but the rest is in shadow. And I'm adding a bit of blue as I go. Further down. Because as with the distance, the colors become cooler. And then I'm going to add a few splatters to add the texture to the wall that we have here. Ideally there would be some granulating color, but I don't want to introduce any new color in this. Just drop in a shadow in there. This is not exactly the watercolor paper that anybody would ever be used to in this sketchbook. I don't really enjoy the way it behaves, but I find it allows for a challenge, which is fine, and I don't have a lot left here, fortunately. Hope it's gonna be finished soon. And I just, with the lightest color, I'm gonna add the shadow inside. And I'll do the same here. A bit too dark. Just wash the brush, squeeze it out so there is frazzled tip, and I collect the water and just spread the color around. I'm adding a little bit of yellow mix in it. And then for the one that's closer, I will add a deeper shadow just in this place and up here. And then now I can take a bit of a black brush. It's Pentel brush pen. It has cartridges. I think I showed you before, but I'll show just quickly once again. There are cartridges here. It's Pentel Fountain FP10 from Japan. These cartridges are replaceable and waterproof. They are not technically refillable, but I know there is a way to refill them. So I'm going to use that to add the black in before everything dries. Just into a few spots, don't add it everywhere, right? Doesn't have to be everywhere. The darkest darks are usually where our lightest lights are. So that's when I'm adding my darkest darks. I'm just doing it only here. I'm not going into the whole picture and plopping the black willy-nilly. I'm trying to do it very intentionally, only in the place where I think my eyes should focus on. Painting in moderation, stopping before you do you make a mark that you will regret. It also comes with practice. So the more you practice, the more confident you become, because confidence is something that's only developed by doing things. Okay, there we have it. Let's do the favorite part. Remove the tape. If your tape tears the paper, I remind you that you can always heat it up with a hairdryer before slowly removing. Then it shouldn't tear your paper. There we have it. A little one more little memory that I just recorded into my sketchbook of a trip that I will treasure for a really, really long time. I'll see you in the next video. Ooh, no, I'm just gonna go back into that for just a second and mix a darker tone. I don't even have the photo in front of me anymore, but I'm going to just swing it. I'm adding a bit of green here where my red door is, and a little bit here. And then red, yellow. Where my violets are. Basically what I'm doing is I'm adding more contrast into the area where my main focus is. And just dry brushing it down for the texture. That's it. What I wanted to do is to make this a bit more prominent, and then just a few details that disappeared, which is this window, and a bit of a shadow here. And a bit of a shadow here. That's it. Now it looks right. With more contrast on the left and lighter, or definitely lighter tone. More contrast on the left and definitely lighter tone on the right. There you go. Now, see you soon.